And it's like also about hope. Really, hope is another favorite word of mine. And hope, I always say, like, without hope, we really don't have much at all as humans. And I just believe that when it comes to positivity, like that's kind of what it does. It does give us a little glimmer of hope, and we all also need to have days where we say F this and we can go and we can cry and we can do whatever we need to do.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Pebble Show. And today, my lovely guest is Brittany Crossan, and she is the founder and CEO of Fun Love Media. And if you don't think I love that name, then you have clearly never watched me on anything anywhere, which is entirely possible. I am cool with who I am and where my presence in the world is, but and I do love the name. Let's just leave it there. Anyways, you may very well have seen Brittany because she is followed and watched by millions on a regular basis, and I am one of them. And I feel really super honored that she has joined me today. So, Brittany, welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. That's so nice. Yeah, the name Fun Love Media. I'm sorry if you don't like it, we probably can't be friends. Like,
Yeah, I think that is pretty much a decisive thing there. Like, if you believe in that whole Enneagram,
yeah.
I am a two, and I'm like all for the fun, love media. But I'm like, that's one of those things that like you're either with me or against me kind of thing. And I think media would say, if you're not on board, you're not going to enjoy me.
Right. I mean, honestly, I took two of my favorite words, as cheesy as that sounds. That's just what I did, and it just popped in my mind that day, like a little more than 6 years ago. And I went, oh, let's do that for a name. That sounds good.
Well, I really wonder about anyone who's not either in for fun or in for love. Yeah, I
Oh.
think you would get 90+% of the population with that name though. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
you're
it's
solid.
yeah, it's pretty hopefully it's a welcoming positive feeling. Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, I agree. And it's totally on board with the Pebble. Because while often the Pebble, can get really serious about, making the world better and all, which is good. I like doing it through fun as well. I don't think making the world better has to be so earnest all the time. I think a lot of times, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're having fun. Like, I feel like I have fun a lot of the time, mostly because I'm a nerd and a dork, and I finally embraced that after 50, but I'm good with it. So,
I can tell. I can tell you are a fun gal, and I could tell that the first time I met you, and that I just can feel that from people. You know how you can just you get better at that the older you get, speaking of age. And I feel like that's kind of the cool thing about life moving forward and getting older is that you really can start to like detect your people.
I agree. And I think too that one of the things that is really important about learning about yourself, and that's the be the pebble side of the pebble, is finding when you know yourself, you'll find your people. And when you can surround yourself with your people, you will really come into yourself. And when you and I talked the first time, I think that was one of the things that I thought was really special is you were surrounded by the right people from the beginning. Like you told me that you felt very nurtured to be who you are just from the get-go, which is really special because not everybody gets that. But I think that sets you off on a really great path.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, whenever you and I spoke before, I kind of made a joke about my broken family and my parents' divorce and all these dramatic things. But even through that, a really positive thing that comes from my childhood is that I had two parents. I had two parents. that loved me. And I also, in addition to that, had two parents that did not make me feel bad or weird for having all these huge dreams of going to Hollywood and being on Broadway and all of that. This I was never made to feel like something was wrong with me for that, or and by others later definitely made me feel that way. But it was just so nice in childhood to know that even if in the back of their mind they were thinking, oh gosh, they didn't say that to me and they just let me dream, you know?
think that's important, but also to validate that that didn't mean you had a Pollyanna childhood, that there were tough days. And I think that's really important too, because I don't think being positive is about ignoring that there's hard days.
Right.
I think there is enough of that out there
Yeah.
that somehow the whole like no excuses or all of that, that somehow you are supposed to be bigger than everything that happens to you, as opposed to, I think positivity is things will happen and you meet them where you are and you do your best to overcome them. And sometimes that's slow and you meet it each day and you do a little better each day. So I appreciate that you share that. Yes, you had supportive parents and you had some rough days too. Like this wasn't like a snap.
Right. No, it's so true. I'm so glad you said that because that's not what positivity is about. Yeah, I agree with you. Um, and it's like also about hope, really. Hope is another favorite word of mine. And hope, I always say like without hope, we really don't have much at all as humans. And I just believe that when it comes to positivity, like that's kind of what it does. It does give us a little glimmer of hope, you know, and we all also need to have days where we say F this and we can go and we can cry and we can do whatever we need to do. But, you know, I just let myself have those moments and then I go, okay, time to move forward. We got to have some hope or we're not going to be able to move forward. So we got to find something.
I think you need the friends who let you go and be like, and be like, and then
Yeah.
you need the friend that's like, okay, now we've done that.
Yes.
What are we doing next? And I think it's a balance, but I think you do have to have both. Some days you do not want that friend who's like, okay, what's our plan? Some days you want to be like, I am mad and I just want to be mad today. And tomorrow you will go see that friend and she'll be like, okay, are we done?
Exactly.
And both
Exactly.
things are really important. Because I think you have to feel both. And one of the things that you had shared was that you did pursue a lifelong dream of becoming an actor. And I want you to share what was your inspiration in a minute. But one of the things that stuck with me was that you really saw it as a way to help people feel. And it was a deep thing for you. And so that I didn't want to skip over that in that moment because we were talking about how you need that was the beginning of theater, really. Comedy and tragedy. It used to be a communal thing, and the Greeks, that was almost their church, right? And that
Right.
that and I think we should respect that. And so when you told me that that was part of the reason that you were attracted to acting, it really stood out to me.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it could also be the control freak in me. I don't know, but I'm gonna lean on the other side and say that it really is this beautiful feeling to know that, like as an actor, like specifically, that you can go in front of an audience, any kind of audience, any size of audience, in person, virtually, whatever. Um, and you can do something that will evoke emotion, that you can do something that will help someone feel something. They can feel happy, they can feel sad, it could be thought provoking and it can make them, I just think that's just such a beautiful part of like being a performer in general.
It was absolutely what I wanted from
Yeah.
being an actor. I was never, I won't say I was never into the fame. When I was a little girl, of course, I was into the fame, but as I grew, that was it. But speaking of a little girl and having a little bit of dreams of fame, you had a particular fascination. And I think a lot of young girls your age did too. So why don't you share what that
Right.
was?
So I was obsessed with Full House, the sitcom. If anyone watching or listening is not familiar, you need
We
to
have
go look
the
it up.
entire box set, so no hate here.
It was such a funny show. And whenever I was a kiddo, I was really close to the age of the girls on the show, the older sisters on the show. And I have been performing since I was little, but I was in a smaller town in Texas and it was just like do whatever is available. And what was available was dance classes for the first from the age of 3 to for a while. There wasn't much else going on down there. And I loved that show, like a lot of people did at the time. And I just remember whenever it clicked, and I went, wait a minute, those little girls are like me. Like they're real girls and they're actors, and they go and do this as a job. And all these people you can hear in the audience laughing. Um, I just couldn't believe that this was real life, that you could even do that. And that's where my dreams of specifically of being like a television star and being on that set right there to help all those people laugh, help millions of people laugh, just was my dream like immediately.
Yeah, that's I totally get that. For me, I was a little older for that set, but I had similar, you know, uh, fascinations. So I totally get it. I wanted to be Annie. Like when I was the age when Annie hit Broadway. And so back when Sarah Jessica Parker was Annie, like that's
Uh-huh.
all tomorrow. So I get it. And
I love it.
you had a really neat moment though, because you got to meet, your little girl idol.
Oh, yes, I did get to meet Bob Saget, rest in peace, before he passed away. I did. And it was such an exciting moment. I mean, this was just a few years ago, as we are here right now in the beginning of 2025. And so to be at that age, to be in my 40s and have that kind of moment, it was surreal. And I thought of all of the celebrities to have this chance to actually meet, have a conversation, really have some time with. It was him. This is wild. So
Yeah,
I just feel like things like that happen in our lives that kind of connect some of the dots for us and help like our inner child kind of have a little happy moment.
I think so. Well, you and I have a very interesting shared path that you did. You had the big dreams and you worked really, really hard for it. And you got some moments of success, but what you envisioned didn't exactly happen. So, why don't you share that and share how you feel maybe a pebble really did happen for you?
Yeah, you're right. Ever since I was a kiddo, wanted had that specific dream, successful television actor and that kind of similar type of job as those girls on Full House. And then I started to learn of other things. I learned, oh, and that means you can also probably be in movies. And oh, there's this thing called Broadway where people sing and dance. So all this starts to develop and it's very specific dreams. Like it was that or nothing. Like that. What else was I going to do? There was really no other in my mind. There was no, backup plan. And basically, long story short, here we are, and I'm the age of 44, and I haven't done those specific things yet. And I went
I
through a
love
time.
that you said yet, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but I love that the word yet was there. Keep
It's
going.
and I don't say that to joke. I mean it. I think that you just never know. You just never know. And that the age restrictions and things are just different than what it used to be, I think. And I love that how people are more open-minded to all of that sort of thing. But I went through what probably a lot of people go through when they have a specific dream and it's not happening on the timeline that they wanted it to. And that's really, really hard to go through and to accept that that is what has happened. It doesn't mean it will never happen, but you really wanted it to happen by at least
Yeah.
such and such age, at least is kind of like what you're thinking. And that didn't happen. And I beat myself up for a long time over it. I was really disappointed in myself. I looked back, what should you have done? Oh, you shouldn't have done this. You should have done that. It was really, really hard. Um, and I continued to do things as a grown up, even after having my kiddos. I went back to the theater and just did what I could, whatever the schedule would allow, and always just tried to stay in front of an audience because I just knew like that was meant to be. I just didn't know how in the hell I was gonna do something big with it. And so moving forward into social media, which I loved from the beginning of MySpace. I know I'm like aging myself with that, but I loved it. And I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, but I just was like, this is like one big virtual stage. This is so exciting. Like you can share something and then someone on the other side of the earth could see it. And like it was free for me to just do. It just, it
Free.
Right, right, right. But it blew my mind. And I've loved it ever since then. And so, as time went on and I got to be into my really late 30s, is whenever the stuff with social media with like short form video, it was TikTok and then Instagram and Facebook and so on. But with the short form video where you can use music. And for me as a dancer, I just was like, oh wait, you can actually make these videos where there's music. And then I remember going onto TikTok and being like, there are grown ass people dancing at the grocery store. Like, and everybody's fine with it. Like, not everybody, but like they're just doing it. Like, and I'm like, this is amazing. I found my place. And
I
so
found my people.
so good. So, as much as I had already loved social media and had been a creator and had been figuring out how to be a social media manager and make a job of it and all the real life stuff that came with it, as a creator and as a performer, I was like, now we're really onto something because I can use these popular songs and I can create stuff and I can do dances or whatever. And that's what I did. And things started for some reason in that process. I had this beautiful beast of a brand new treadmill that I got delivered. And I thought, let's turn on the camera and dance on the treadmill. I don't know why I don't have a much better story behind that. But those videos started to just explode. And especially I didn't have very many followers at the time. I didn't have, and I was like, what is happening right now? And now I'm a dancing treadmill person. Like, like okay.
Gentlemen, we'd like to introduce the dancing treadmill woman, Brittany.
It's like the weirdest thing ever. I always tell everybody, I'm like, trust me, I understand how weird it is. I don't know. But it got to this thing where it started building up. And basically, as time went on and I continued to see like, okay, this is good. You wanted to be in front of audiences. Okay, you're in front of audiences. This is good. People are laughing and smiling. This is good. And before I know it, I've got millions of views, and I told you, I make that connection of like, I always dreamt of entertaining millions of people. And I just really thought it would be more of that kind of traditional Hollywood route of being on a television show. And turns out it was on social media so far. And I just thought, you know what? But you did it. We don't always give ourselves that moment to go, wait a minute. You accomplished the thing just because the thing looked different than the other thing. It's still the thing,
Right.
and
Amen.
our paths will change and things will adjust and stuff like that. And it's annoying to hear these things be said. Sometimes I understand. Sometimes when I hear these motivational talks, it kind of like makes you want to punch someone in the throat if you're not in the right state of mind to hear it. But it's very true. And if we don't give ourselves that grace of going, you know what, but you still accomplished a version of that huge goal
Yeah.
now, and then you can kind of reassess now, what can we do going forward? That's why I keep saying yet. I haven't done this yet because all these things are still possible. But to realize that we really can accomplish our dreams and goals if we're just willing to loosen up a little and be flexible and let it kind of wind and happen a different way.
Yes, 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 yes. I am so with you on this. It's like I say to people, there are very few goals that your age truly stops you from. And the
Yeah.
one I use is I will not become an Olympic diver. I have been aged out of that. I will not become an Olympic gymnast. I have been aged out of that. Now, I am not saying that those would have been viable goals for me, period. Like the gymnast thing, not gonna happen anyways. But like it's just simply my age also will have just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But almost any other goal that I truly put in front of myself is viable.
Yeah.
And I also talk about that we need to redefine what success and greatness looks like. Everyone in this world is capable of success, and everyone is capable of greatness. But it isn't a paycheck, it isn't a title, it isn't an address. It is about how it fulfills you and your place in the world and the people around you. If you are fully happy doing what you are doing, your cup is filled to the point that it is spilling over and making those around you better for it. That is greatness, that is success.
Yes.
So that is open and available to everyone in the world. And I assure you, there are people with the greatest cars, the largest houses, and more money than they could ever spend in 12 lifetimes that are not great and aren't truly successful because their cup really doesn't overflow. And there are people who are not quite sure the next paycheck is going to make it in time, but they are successes because their joyful heart fills all of those around them. When they do their job, they do it with value and they make those that come into whatever position that they share feel better for it.
Yeah.
That is success.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And that can a lot of times in my experience and just in some conversations I've had with loved ones, that particular lesson, if you will, that you just talked about is something that sometimes takes time. And it doesn't mean you have to be a certain age specifically to learn that lesson, but we have to experience certain things to learn these important lessons. And so it is what it is. Sometimes we just have to live life and go forward, and then we'll start getting our tidbits, our little lessons, our little tweaks and adjustments and how we want to do it. You know what I mean? So I think that that isn't talked about enough either, like with age and with getting a little bit older. People will be like, "Oh, it's because I'm old and wise." Well, okay, there's more to the story than that. It's you're literally just living life. And if you are accepting of, like what you're saying, you're accepting of these kinds of things and learning and then finding what really suits you and not having to do it this way or that way, you're going to live a better life.
I
And
think,
it's interesting. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, it's just interesting how it's kind of like a double whammy though for me. Like, I'm sure you totally understand. Like you're like, I've learned, okay, I think I've learned enough lessons for this year. Okay, I think let's
Yeah.
just calm down with all the lessons and and then boom, you're surprised with another one. And that's what happened with me with this whole journey because originally it was like because you talk about the pebble and like what is it's like I thought, okay, well, definitely like my purpose is to be in front of those audiences and to help them feel certain ways and da da da, right? Duh. But what I've learned now through using social media to perform for people is that actually because of my age that I ended up being when all this came about, now it's a second step is show people that they can still go for their dreams no matter their age. It's kind of cool how it's been like this multi-step thing that's just unfolded organically.
Exactly. I absolutely believe that I was supposed to be delayed.
Yeah.
That
Me too, but like when you're in the middle of the delay,
it stinks. The
it's
phrase
like,
my mom uses is, I know God would never give me more than I could handle, but I wish he didn't have so much faith in me.
there you
That's,
go.
you know,
It's very similar. When you're in the middle of the delay, it's very frustrating. But if you really dig deep, you can start to see why the delay needed to happen. It's not easy, but you can do it.
and I agree that when you're in it, you don't necessarily appreciate someone saying, "This is supposed to be your journey." No, you're like, "I am done. I have done the work. I am ready," you know? And it
Yes.
is, I also think, very diminishing sometimes when people are like, oh, well, you're just, you're just older, so that's why you feel like it's okay. You're making that you had
Yeah.
the weight, like you're rationalizing it. But I don't think that's the case. I think when you're young, you you're hungry. It's just the different stages of life, and you're supposed to be hungry. But also it doesn't give you the perspective. And I did not have the right perspective on myself. And for me, the longer journey, while tough, is also the journey that gave me what I'm supposed to share, as you talked about.
Exactly.
And so, if you were to look back over, from the little girl sitting there watching Full House to now you are, as you said, you do get millions of views and you do bring a lot of joy into people's homes. I mean, I have laughed out loud before I met you. Honest to goodness, laughed out loud. Almost like that lady in green that everybody uses with the, like the overused meme copy take. Like so you bring laughter into people's homes, which is, I think, at the heart of what you really wanted to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you were to share one thing as your Pebble journey with our audience, a lesson or a takeaway, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question to
No
answer.
pressure.
Okay, no pressure at all. Um, I just a big takeaway is that you you really can make some version of that childhood dream happen, but you have to be willing to flex. You have to be willing to bend some because it's life. It's a human experience. We can't help it. Like weird stuff happens. And that's the bottom line. So we once we shift in that mindset of being more flexible with this and seeing the other ways to accomplish these dreams and goals, because I'm going to tell you what, you don't have the dream for no reason. It's
Yes,
not it's
yes,
not why in the hell is that sitting there in your head and your heart? There's a reason. You don't
yes.
always know that reason right away. It takes all the like we talk about all this work and all these experiences you have to go through. But through in my case, social media and sharing my talents and skills and passions and things of performing, getting in front of people, being in front of an audience, in that way, it's helped me see that there are other ways to make that original dream happen. And I always like to use the example of an astronaut. If you dreamt of being an astronaut whenever you were a kid, and now you're 65 and you're like, you know what, honestly, realistically, like the diving thing, probably not going to be an actual like astronaut in that exact way, but you know what? Get on social media, start talking about it, become an expert on the astronaut program, go and interview former astronauts. NASA's going to invite you to go to special events. You're going to be immersed in that world and you're still going to get to that a different version of that place. It's just an example, but you know what I mean?
Oh, I
And I just
do.
think that
There,
why not use this opportunity we have as social media to get out there and make the impact on the world? I just feel like it's such a
love
beautiful opportunity.
you really touched my heart when you said that there is a reason you were given that dream.
Yep,
And if it stuck with you all these years, then when you don't have to abandon it, you just have to find a way to make it come true. It doesn't
exactly.
necessarily look like the child version. And why is it we think that the child version is set in stone? It was made by a child. You are a grown up. So
Yep.
find a way to make the grown up dream come true.
I agree. I agree. And I'll leave you with this whenever it comes to time and accomplishing goals and in our age and things like this. I talk a lot about age. I talk about my age. I'm very open about it, but I also think about me at different ages. Whenever I'm in a moment where I need to be fighting through something, I will think about 11-year-old me at the burger joint with my dad telling him I want to be on TV like the girls on Full House. And I'll think about her and her dreams and say, okay, you cannot quit. You've got to keep going for her. And then I also think about about 88-year-old me toward the end of my life, and how proud will she be that you did those stupid treadmill dances? She's gonna be like, yes, that was
Thank God for that
perfect.
treadmill.
I mean, you know, you get on the internet and shake your butt, like whatever. Like I know that old me is going to be so proud that I didn't let those opportunities pass and I didn't worry too terribly about being judged for them. So when you can think about different versions of yourself, bring it all together to your present self and make it happen.
I love it. I couldn't end it more better than that. Obviously, because I couldn't end it more beautifully than that. Thank you so much, Brittany, for being a pebble with us today. And I'd like to ask our audience to please like, share, and give us a subscribe and join us for the next pebble. And thank you again, Brittany. Bye
Thank
now.
you.